champagne socialism would not survive an encounter with an actual real American.
Dog, I'm Turkish. You're Hispanic. We're both American. What are you talking about? What the is this mother talking about? The far right appears more comfortable with racism than at any point in the Trump era, but few MAGA figures are willing to be as unabashedly racist as Nick Fuentes. No matter how far he pushes his bigotry, his influence keeps rising. Ali Brelin argues. Ali is a pretty decent reporter. I wonder if this is the article that he mentions me in, or maybe there's a different one. I can't believe Nick Fuentes got a glaring profile like this. That's crazy. Nick Fuentes, a white nationalist problem for the right. For years, conservatives hoped the notorious white nationalists go away. Instead, Mr. Fuentes has gained more traction even while opposing the president. Dude, when I get a New York Times piece, here, you want to know why this country is so far right and will continue to go along that trajectory? The only time where they offer a profile to someone who is an out and about anti-Israel guy is when that guy is a Nazi. The New York Times has written on me in the past, but when they do, it's in the style section. Okay? When the New York Times writes about me, they write it in the style section and they put a quote in there where that says Hassan accuses Israel of doing a genocide. The only time where they actually talk about the policies of a political figure in the independent side of the media, it's a white nationalist. That's insane. How do people not realize this? It's because you're hot? No, dude. It's because any sort of real left populist figure is seen as a genuine threat. This way, the New York Times can signal to its reader base that some of the most prominent figures in the anti-Israel movement are just straight up Nazis. Okay? Because if you have a guy that you honestly write about the policies on, okay, who is not a Nazi and not an anti-Semite, but is expressly anti-Israel, that kind of puts a dent in this broad message that the New York Times has been abiding by. The notion that like maybe a lot of the critics of Israel are anti-Semitic. Yeah. Jonathan Greenblatt freaked out on this. Maybe I'm expecting him to also criticize Nick Fuentes. Who knows? He responded to your vid. What did he say? He went on a rant. Not surprising. You're a Nepo baby, basically. Okay. Yeah, your vid is heavily brigaded. Who gives a dude? This is not the first, nor will it be the last time that shit happens. Come on, dude. He ain't that bad. He's evolving. You're so dumb, dude. This is precisely the reason why he's such a ever-present danger, dude. Holy Goat is right. Elasan, you should go back to Europe. This mother is a skilled orator, okay? He has decent rhetoric. That's all he has. He's also an incredibly dangerous Nazi freak. He is utilizing his already existing anti-Israel stance that is born out of the Jewish domination narratives that he believes as a Holocaust denier to reach new audiences. And he's actually reaching new audiences with tremendous success, which is precisely the reason why we have dumb in here who are named Pureblood, by the way, okay, talking about how like, oh, Nick Fuentes has actually changed his mind. On what? Changed his mind on what? He still thinks that Trump is not going hard enough on mass deportations. He wants every non-white person to be deported, even though he's, Hispanic himself. Refusing the Rothschild banking system, easy. Teflon all over again. Good thing about getting banned here is you can still read chat. And this is very important for people to understand. To me, there is very little difference between someone who defends what Israel is doing right now and someone like Nick Fuentes. My anger and resentment for Zionism stems from the fact that it is the exact same style of ideology as the Nazis. It is fascism. Okay? Nazis believe the in-group is different. Nazis believe the out-group is different. Okay? The only difference between someone like Nick Fuentes and someone who is like actively defending Israel and is like an ultra-Zionist is that, well, Israel is currently doing a lot better, a lot more successful in terms of initiating its own supremacist ideology while also operating in broad daylight as though this is like a normal version of events. They're denying the ongoing Holocaust. He denies the past Holocaust. Okay? Dude, anti-Semitism isn't as dangerous as Zionism. Be for real. Dude, you're a absolute moron. Nick Fuentes is more aligned with the current administration. The administration has openly admitted that they're afraid of his groypers yelling at them. The f- are you talking about? It's the same coin. It's two sides of the same coin. It's the same. The f- are you talking about? I'm not saying Nick Fuentes is dangerous because, oh, he hates Jewish people. What are you talking about? That's one aspect of his commentary that is wrong and abhorrent, but that's not the only aspect. What are we talking about? What are we doing here? We're now approaching the issue from an insane perspective where it's like, well, I guess, you know, as long as someone says like free Palestine, it's all right. Nick Fuentes would throw you if given the opportunity, if he actually had any sort of levers of power, if he could control the levers of power, he would throw you in the concentration camp, not just Jews, dumbass. Are we forgetting this is the dude who said your body, my choice in the immediate aftermath of Trump's victory on his election night? This is precisely the reason why I was talking about how dangerous this shit is.
Hassan Piker runs and hides because communism would not survive an encounter with the far right. It just wouldn't.
I'm sorry, what? Did he just say communism would not survive an encounter with the far right? What is this guy talking about, dude? Communism would not survive an interaction with the far right? Scoreboard. What the do you mean communism would not survive an interaction with the far right? Is this guy such a Holocaust denier that he just like denies that World War II even happened? Is that what we're doing now? That's crazy.
All that sentimentalism, all that sappy, you know, bleeding heart about free health.
Communism would not survive an altercation with the far right. Yeah, he's never heard of a guy named Joe Stalin. Here, let's watch more. I just feel like throughout history, there has been many altercations such as the one that Nick Fuentes is trying to ahistorically present, where communism has actively and very successfully taken out the far right, whether it be Vietnam, Mao in China, whether it be the USSR against Nazi Germany, whether it be Fidel and Che Guevara in Cuba. What are we talking about? What are we even talking about?
We'll give you free health care too. I don't really care that much. I want to close the borders. I want to stop being harassed on the train. I want to be able to live in most of the city and not have to be a war zone. I don't want to have our country run by an Israeli fifth column, a Jewish fifth column. You would not survive that encounter, and you know that. And Hassan knows that if there were ever a dialogue, an ongoing dialogue, or even just a sit down, that whole fantasy, this bourgeois champagne socialism would not survive an encounter with an actual real American. With an actual real American.
Dog, I'm Turkish, you're Hispanic. We're both American. Our existence on U.S. soil contradicts the fundamental argument that you're presenting. What are you talking about? What the f is this mother talking about? You would not survive, he says, from his mom's basement. I know.
That's a son of working class people. And that's like the delicious and rich irony is that Hassan is a Nepo baby. He's a
once again, he's a Nepo baby. Brother, my perspective, my worldview would, if what you're saying is correct, would place me as a class traitor. You, on the other hand, are advocating for erasure of yourself. You're Hispanic, and you are advocating for the destruction of yourself, the removal of yourself from U.S. soil.
Millionaire Nepo baby who's on all the mainstream platforms. How did he get his start in media? His uncle. And this is a guy lecturing us about generational wealth. Why don't we redistribute the Young Turks media opportunities? How about
okay, fine. You know,
we redistribute?
Doesn't seem like that would put a dent in the system. But once again, normally he has better arguments. Like when he's duking it out with Charlie Kirk, he can present a better argument because he can showcase that Charlie Kirk is actually, because he is the logical extension of like the advocacy that Charlie Kirk engages in. The reason why the likes of Charlie Kirk fear someone like Nick Fuentes is because it shows that Charlie Kirk is fraudulent, right? He is seen as more real. But when he comes after someone like myself, he has to desperately fling shit in the same way that like Destiny criticizes me over. I don't know if they engaged in information sharing. I know they shared other things. Maybe they talked about their mutual hatred of someone such as myself, while Nick Fuentes was in Destiny's mouth. Who knows? Who knows? After a little bit of chicken and waffles, they did it over pillow talk, I think.
Contribute the Twitch subscriptions. So, you know, as long as
I like that the line of attack against me is always the same, no matter.
he's going to sit there and take shots from over there, inside of that woke fantasy.
Also, it is kind of funny because the one thing that Nick Fuentes can always present himself in order to showcase his like infallibility, his like moral authority on the subject matter, is the fact that, you know, he's been debanked or he's been attacked and this and that. Like, you know, these institutions have come after him. The ADL talks more about me than they do about you, dumbass. The Zionist groups in this country and newspapers that work alongside Hasbara initiatives write extensively demanding my deplatforming. You supported Donald Trump. Donald Trump's own Customs and Border Patrol detained me for my opinions on Israel. So he can't even hit me on he's not sincere about his advocacy for the Palestinians line of attack. So he just has to go back to this dumb shit like, oh, he's rich, but a socialist.
Land. They'll all be very confident in their ideology. But the reason that they don't want me to talk to Jimmy Dore, the reason they're screaming, he's a Nazi, but he said this, but he said that. Let him talk. We can talk.
The only counter narrative in this situation that he can apply, the only line of attack he can apply is like, oh, you're a bad guy. You're a hypocrite. You're rich but socialist. He knows that that's not a real line of attack anyway. He can't do it. He's got nothing. So he says the exact same shit that like annoying liberals say. But yeah, New York Times profile Nick Fuentes as a growing threat to Trumpism includes this telling detail. I think the way that the New York Times is presenting Nick Fuentes as a growing threat to Trumpism is perhaps one of the most damaging things that they could have done in terms of like beefing up a white nationalist movement. I remember all the way back in 2016 when they wrote a glaring profile of Richard Spencer in a similar vein. I criticized it extensively, and the New York Times is back to its old tricks, you know? Classic. Incredible stuff. It's crazy that they're just like trying to prop him up. He's flip-flopped on his positions over and over again. Okay? He has not changed. He is still a Nazi. As a matter of fact, the real reason he doesn't like you, you're not anti-Semitic, you don't talk about the Jews. Left,
these guys are just like effective at this point.
Hassan Piker finally worked up the courage to invoke Nick's name today. Fuentes responds by spending 6 minutes destroying the far left. These guys are just effective at this point.
I don't even think they know why they do what they do. You know, and the reason that the far left is threatened by me is because I'm better than them. I'm going to take their market share. And you want to know why? Because I can talk about Jews. I can talk about black people. I can talk about, I'm not beholden to a crowd of nut jobs that just can't talk about basic reality. You go on the far left, and some of the things I say appeal to them, like about Gaza and like about Israel and so on. But on the far left, you can't talk about Judaism.
What the I think he just means like, yeah, he's saying that like Israel is doing everything it's doing for Judaism, and it's the international Jewish conspiracy, that it's like international Jewish control. Like, oh yeah, dude, you are more successful, I guess, in your own estimation. It's not real, but in your mind, because you can make up conspiracies that are not correct. That's it. Green caps that shit with Jews in his hand. I mean, it's just like that. Yeah, mad that the left won't invoke the Talmud. The reason why he's doing this is because he's worried.
You don't think that the far-right Jewish extremists in Israel, like Meir Kahane, who said that all non-Jews should be enslaved or killed, you don't think that has something to do with what's happening there? You don't think that
Wait, that's so funny. Yeah, dude, he's the same as you, dumbass. That's it. Yeah, the reason why I hate Meir Kahane and Bezalel Smotrich and Itamar Ben-Gvir is because they are you. They're you, but the Jewish version of you. That's it. They're Nazis just like you are. A complete false sense of ethnic or religious superiority that they believe. That's the point. That's all this is. Dude, what the are you doing? Man, he got a glaring profile on the New York Times. Shut the okay? There's a reason why I didn't talk about Nick Fuentes for a very long time, because it was an irrelevant Nazi. He is now moving away from being an irrelevant Nazi to actually becoming a very relevant Nazi. Do you see this? A glowing profile. Sorry, not glaring. What are you talking about? It's the same reason why I addressed it the other day, because he's like gaining a lot of prominence among dumb people who are not Nazis themselves and don't realize that he also is a dumb Nazi. Yes, but please, will you ever stop fighting with the pigs? Man, this country is run by pigs. Shut the up. This country is run by pigs. What are you supposed to do in that situation? Just like hope they go away? By wish that they just go away? What are we doing? As is the case with like people like Sex Pestany, they just don't go away. There's a point that you have to like try and combat it. How do they not know after listening to him for more than a minute that he's a Nazi? Because people don't listen for a whole minute. Nobody listens for a whole minute. I brought this up in my video, on my YouTube video, that's been brigaded by his fans like nonstop. There are those like Candace Owens, there are those like Nick Fuentes out there whose fan bases operate in the exact same way that like my haters operate. But instead of like clipping it, my haters operate in this way where they clip me out of context and then they blast it everywhere, right? His fan base does the exact same thing. They clip him out of context to make him seem like he has a very palatable approach to issues that a lot of people agree on. And the most nefarious aspect of this is that because there is already an existing party within the duopoly that we have that reflects the far-right neo-Nazi style sentiment in its policy making, in its agenda openly, that he can just masquerade this position as though it's just common sense. What is the difference between someone like Nick Fuentes and Fox News when Fox News yesterday was talking about how, you know, we really got to take a closer look at real issue of interracial violence. Like they're just straight up doing the same. Sorry, Hassan, Zionism is a Jewish problem. It's not up to Muslims or Christians to fight. It's up to the Jewish people. Shut the fuck up. It's everybody's problem, dumbass. Everybody has to fight against it. And also, once again, the most robust, coordinated support for Zionism outside of American Jews comes from the evangelical Christian Zionist movement in this country, okay? And they do have the numbers as opposed to Zionist Jews. This isn't to say that like a significant percentage of American Jews are not Zionists, but there are not that many Jews. There's just, you know, not that many Jews in general. There are a lot of evangelical Christians, however, and they're all super pro-Israel. The notion that this is not a problem, the notion that this is not a problem that everybody else has to deal with is so stupid. Look at his logs. This guy's a Nazi. What? He didn't say anything else. Tip her, bro. I can see them on my Insta. Why are you guys saying this? Look at his logs. This guy's a Nazi. Anyway, let's move on from this. All right.